When we talked earlier in the week, the word that came for me is radical leadership. I remember we were sitting and I was like,
Right.
you're a radical leader. You're a leader that really, really, really did work from the bottom all the way to the top, serving on the school board, making an impact, nationally, being in legislation. And you did that through your resilience and through really stepping outside of your comfort zone. You went from a clerk to a corporate executive in MGM. How did that happen? What I want to know, because so often, especially those of us that listen, right? We're listening to you speak and we're listening to these stories. Sometimes we can have the thought, especially as women, of like, oh, that's not like, that can't happen for me, right? That I can never get there, or they can't see the path of getting there. Maybe there's somebody that's watching today. Maybe you're watching today in your entry-level position, but you really aspire to like be at the top of a company and grow and make an impact. I know you're resilient, but what are the other things that you would say that took you from clerk to a corporate executive, that took you from, picking grapes to legislation? What are those skills that you would say, these are the things that are so important that you need to be able to cultivate and bring to the table?
I think some of the speakers that spoke earlier talked about your self-worth. So I just knew I had to get in. Once I got in, I could make it happen. I knew that I was going to outshine my colleagues. I just knew that. So when I came to Las Vegas, the Mirage was being built, but also MGM Grand in 1994. And so Mirage turned me down. I was so humiliated. I was so embarrassed. They said I wasn't qualified to be in their corporation. And when I left, I thought, you know what? One day you're going to regret that. Lo and behold, I got a phone call. MGM said, we want you to come down. And most of the management positions were filled. And I was like, I just need to get in there. I know I just need a foot in the door. And so my confidence was really at an all-time high then. And I got the clerk position. I was like, that's good. So when we downsized after we did the grand opening, I was only employee was retained from that little small group. It was to diversify and do an inclusive policy back then, which was not even popular like it is now. And once I got in, I knew that I could do it. And I learned about hospitality. I gave myself grace, like another speaker talked about. I kept that eagerness of wanting to learn. And the other thing that was so magical is I always raised my hand to volunteer. Who wants to do United Way for the company? Me. Who wants to take the night shift to make sure our employees know about the benefits that we're offering? Me. And so that really helped me to get noticed, to get around people that I normally wouldn't have in my circle of influence. And it just kept opening doors and doors for me. So within those 18, 20 years at MGM, every 5 years, I moved up into different positions. And I always was tapped on the shoulder to say, we haven't done this yet, Irene, but we want you to be part of this team that's going to lead the way. And so it was just a thrill and such an awesome opportunity to be there.
What an amazing story. I feel like I can listen to all day. We haven't really had these conversations yet, Irene, you and I. So I hear you talking a lot about that you knew you just needed to get in there, and then, you can take it and you can grow from there. And I talked a little bit earlier when we started the conference about, my self-confidence. My self-confidence came from my parents, and they were amazing and they uplifted me. I'm really curious to know where you think that self-confidence and where that grit came from, because I think we've all heard the statistics from Hewlett and Packard, right? That men will apply for a job when they have 60% of the knowledge, and women won't apply until they have 100%. But what I hear you saying was that, like, it didn't matter. Like, I just wanted to get in there and then I can figure it out, where so many people will sit back and say, I don't have it figured out yet, so maybe I shouldn't try. You did the opposite. Where did that mindset come? Was it cultivated, being in the field with your dad? Did it come from your parents? Where do you think that confidence came from? I call it the macro confidence that Lauren's going to talk about later. The macro confidence is that internal drive in you that says, I don't care if I fall. I don't care if I fail. I don't care if I suck. Everything's figure outable and I'm just going to do it anyway. Where did that come from?
I think you hit it right on the nail. It was my parents, right? Coming from nothing to getting all five of us to go to post-secondary education as migrant farm workers, not being able to, master the English language at the time. And so, right, I watched that. I watched how they pushed through and always thought entrepreneurialistic. And so that I think was a foundation. But when I came to Las Vegas, and one speaker said it earlier, for me, it's my faith, right? And now I spend a lot of investment of reminding myself of my superpowers, stuff that comes naturally to me, and knowing that I am built for so much more. And so don't get comfortable. Do not get, if I get comfortable, then you know that I'm going to be thinking about what's next. And so that came from some really awesome people that I've had in my life that reminded me of, Irene, have you ever thought about this? And I was like, I don't even know what that means. We're gonna, wait for you to run for your first election. And I thought, I don't even know what you're talking about. But they poured into me what was already inside, and they just turned it on, and I thought, I could do that. I could do that. And then when I switched from MGM to being in the legislature, right, radical for me. It was because I knew I had a purpose and I had a mission, and I gave myself a lot of grace. And I knew what it was like to have your title stripped from you, so to speak, because I left, and reinventing yourself. And it helped me to remind me, like, who am I at my core? Who am I? And it was so phenomenal to be able to go through that journey. And I've done it, like I said, about 4 times now. And each time I was popular as a legislator, right? You get all this attention. People want to donate money to you. And then you go back to being at the entry level of something new. And you have to know within yourself, right, who you are, whose you are. And use those gifts to rebuild yourself. So I actually have an addiction, I think, to it now.